Let's do this.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome to the Weekly Narrative. What's up, Osis? I see you in chat there. You're probably in stereo as well. We got people are packing into stereo and YouTube already. Glad to see you guys back again for another edition of the Weekly Narrative. We got a stacked lineup of topics to talk to you guys about tonight. Pretty good stuff. And for those of you who are wondering why I called it Clown World News, I have this stereo chat labeled Clown World News because it's not long enough to put in the Weekly Narrative and all that stuff. So for those who don't know, we are live on an audio app called Stereo. You can download it on your phones. You can leave us a voice message. Follow at Weekly Narrative on the Stereo app. You can leave us questions, talk trash, whatever you want. We prefer trash talk, but if you have a question, that's fine too. Or comments, that's okay. Contributing to the conversation. We always love participation. What's up, Holly? We got Dari in the chat. What's up, guys? Grab a seat, grab a drink. Let's get started. And like I said, we got a pretty good lineup today. We're going to be talking about some new online abuse laws that could be passing in the UK. You guys know the UK has always been kind of a canary in the coal mine for America in terms of the culture war and the ridiculousness of modernity, like making fun of somebody on Twitter got somebody arrested, things like that. Well, they're taking that to a whole nother level, and we're going to talk about what exactly they plan on doing there, or trying. They plan on trying. I'm not going to talk too much about the voting stuff that happened last night, because honestly, it's not that interesting to me. The election stuff doesn't really grab my attention, but I did want to talk about one case study about some data that showed kind of the distribution of the women voters in Virginia. And for those who don't know, Republicans won the governorship in Virginia last night. All the leftists are upset. Woo-hoo! And they're blaming all kinds of different things, right? They're blaming themselves. They're blaming racism. They're blaming women. I just want to look at a little bit of statistics surrounding the demographics of who voted for who there, and see if we can't do a little cause and effect analysis to figure out why particular people are voting a particular way. I think it's going to be interesting. We have some cultural news, actually. We don't do cultural stuff as much, but we got some musical news we have to talk about. Musical news. It's because we have Let's Go Brandon has been topping charts in America for hip-hop, and multiple artists are making multiple songs called Let's Go Brandon. We're going to look at that, what that means. Speaking of the racism stuff, because, well, kind of a weak segue there, but, rappers are black. So Ibram Kendi, the god of diversity and racism, anti-racism, caught himself in a trap with his subterranean IQ. Low IQ doesn't even begin to describe him properly, so I'm trying to use a more appropriate word here. I'm just going to go with subterranean. We'll talk about that. Hilarious. You guys are going to love that one. And in the COVID segment, we got about 4 or 5 stories that are pretty juicy. We got some emails from the CDC. We figured out why they changed the definition of the word vaccine on their website. And these emails, you're going to want to see these. They're good. Yeah, someone did a FOIA request to the CDC for these emails. You're going to want to see it. Ontario and Quebec just rescinded their vaccine mandate for healthcare workers. We've got some alarming Israeli statistics regarding heart issues and some other statistics from Italy and Germany that show just how much of a, what should we say here, non-significant issue COVID really is for anyone who's not significantly old or overweight. So we got a lot of stuff to get into. I say let's just jump right into it.
Yep. Everybody put on your chin, tuck in your chin straps, put on your elbow pads. It's all good. Let's jump right in.
Get your Jewel cup. Let's do it. Yeah, we got Osis over on the stereo already, warming us up there. Appreciate that. Let's go see what he's got to say real quick before we jump in. Oh, wait. Oh, it's blocked on my screen. There we go. Okay.
The commies are so mad about Let's Go Brandon. It's almost like you took away their 4-year-olds.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. That's true. Yeah, they are coming for the kids. That is absolutely true. We got Jamon in chat, Seal in chat. What's up, guys? Come on in, grab a drink, get comfortable. You're just in time. All right, so yeah, Kendi proved his theory. Well, I mean, that's probably my favorite story of the night. But let's start out with some warm ups here. Let's go to the UK real quick to see what's going on over there. Now, you guys know that they've been passing all kinds of, or trying to pass all kinds of strange laws regarding offensiveness on the internet. Twitter posts, Facebook posts, stuff like this, predominantly surrounding offensive topics, offending people, right? Well, okay, they're trying to go one step further here, and this is from Fox News only because the other article was paywalled, so I had to go to Fox News version. Sorry, this isn't exactly widespread. I don't like to cite Fox News, but here we are. British government considers psychological harm punishment for online abuse. Critics argue the proposed offenses are too vague, but that's probably the point now, isn't it? Let's see. Online trolls could face 2 years in prison for messages or content that cause, quote, psychological harm, as the British government considers new legislation to combat online abuse. That's right, 2 years in prison.
Wow, that's a little harsh.
For messages or content that cause, quote, psychological harm. Now, what does that mean? Does anybody know? If I say there are only 2 genders, does that cause psychological harm? Yes, absolutely. Anyone could claim it causes psychological harm because it's an entirely subjective term. But of course, it's never going to go the other way where somebody says, something about Marxism or whatever, or they wear a communist logo on their shirt, and they talk about how they love Marxism in their videos. That causes psychological distress for me. But we all know that if I reported that or somebody else reported that, they're not going to be the ones getting arrested. We all know that, right?
Or what about the people that wish death upon other people on the internet as well? Will that be considered psychological harm, and will those people get thrown in prison?
Yeah, or what about the people who refer to the unvaccinated as diseased or unclean, or you know what I mean, like real dehumanizing language, like on par with what Nazis would have done to the Jews? Is that called psychological harm? Probably not. We all know which way this is going to go. The Department for Culture, Media, and Sports has accepted recommendations from the Law Commission to base crimes on, quote, likely psychological harm after a number of high-profile online abuse cases involving sports journalists and Premier League athletes. Now, we all know the Europeans love their soccer, okay? And when their soccer teams don't perform, they trash talk. They trash talk a lot. Maybe sometimes they can get a little out of hand, but still, there's no damages here. Psychological harm is not a real thing, honestly. If you want, to go the full distance, it's not really a real thing. You can't receive harm from text online. I don't know. Does anyone disagree with that?
I mean, you can definitely get some kind of emotional harm, but the way to counteract that emotional harm is not by sending somebody to prison. It's by becoming a stronger person and learning to adapt to adversity. But unfortunately, that's not the way our culture is going right now.
Presidentially sniffing children, one of the best usernames I've seen in chat here, says half the gamers in the UK are about to go to prison. Yes. Yeah.
Right?
For anyone who's ever been in a public game.
That's exactly what my thought was.
Yeah. They're going to be smoked out real quick. And, if you lose the game, of course, you could probably report someone just because you're upset. You want to rage quit or whatever. This isn't really a real thing, in my opinion. Psychological harm. I guess there's ways of imposing psychological harm on people, but it's not the kind of thing that they're talking about. This isn't like they're torturing you in a locked room with music on repeat for 9 hours straight in a dark room with water dripping on your face. That would be psychological harm. It's not physical harm. You're not physically being damaged. That's psychological harm. But reading somebody else saying something like there are only 2 genders, that's not psychological harm. That's just you being unfit to be in the internet. And that's what's funny about this thing is that just a few years ago, the idea of Fox News having an article talking about trolls. Trolls? I mean, I'm a gamer. I've been gaming for a long time. I knew what trolls were
Same.
before anybody ever even uttered the word in the mainstream media, and it's just really strange to see that being described now as a normal thing because all the sludge that's been building up under the bridges of society is starting to now flood up into, into view. And now we're talking about the fact that people are getting psychological harm from reading things online. It's absurd. But that's why this is the Clown World News, aka the Weekly Narrative. This is
Holly says, "How about all the times I'm called a turf? Harm."
yeah. Or a chud. If you're a MAGA person, if you like, it goes both ways. That's the problem. And of course, they don't have the foresight to plan for both sides of this. They're seeing it from only one angle, and they're only going to apply it
Or what
from
about,
one angle.
yeah, I was going to say, or what about when Chrissy Teigen was telling that teenage girl on Twitter to kill herself? Is that psychological harm? Will she
That
go to prison for that?
I think that's about as psychologically harmful as you could probably get. And, still, I don't think it's
Yeah.
much of a real thing, but telling someone to kill themselves, yeah. But again, I think here's the problem. Most people are not fit to even be on the internet at all. You should have to take a psychological test to even get access to the internet because, guys, this is the
Right.
internet. This is the internet. You're going to see some things. You're going to hear some things that are going to be psychologically distressing. And it's not our fault that you stumble onto something voluntarily that you're not capable of processing as an adult. That's on you. That's not on the rest of the internet.
Right.
All right, let's jump
Yeah.
over.
I mean, I've been called. I was going to say I've been called, the gay slur before by many of people online, and I just laugh. I think it's hilarious. I don't care because I've just learned over the years that if I get damaged from someone else's words, it's not them who should. It's not the person saying it that is responsible for my reaction. I'm the only person responsible for how I react to things. And if I give them the negative reaction that they want, then they win. If I just laugh it off, then I win. So I'd rather be the winner than the loser.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. If you want to piss these people off as much as possible, the best way to do that is to simply not react. Don't react to them, making fun of you. Don't react to them calling you a name, whatever. Don't react to them calling you white supremacist or racist or anything like that. It's the non-reaction that pisses them off more than anything else in the world. Okay, so let's go to stereo real quick. Paul?
The best part about Let's Go Brandon is that it is literally, definitionally, the repetition by all these MAGA hat wearing people of a media lie. They love reporters. I don't know why they don't love Let's Go Brandon. A female reporter is the one who said it. Why don't they like it? They should love it. They should love it more than we do.
That's a good point. But of course, I've been loving watching the reaction to Let's Go Brandon on the left, and I see guys like David Pakman trying to rationalize it away the same exact way that the nerdy kid in high school who's not in all the cool kids cliques kind of like rationalizes away. Oh, why do they wear the jeans like that? Or why do they wear? It's not comfortable for those jeans or that clothes, that stylish clothing. They're like trying to logical arguments to kind of rationalize away this thing that all the other cool kids are doing, and they don't get it, and they're not part of it, and they're upset about it, so they have to rationalize it away, and it's hilarious to watch. Let's go to Holly.
Hey guys, I do have
Hey,
to
Holly.
say that was a huge white pill moment for little old Canadian me when Ontario rescinded their mandates on their healthcare workers due to that lawsuit that was brought forward by the doctors. So hopefully that bodes well for the rest of Canada, paves the way for brave souls who come forward in other industries. We'll see.
Yay!
So that was a
Glad
lawsuit,
that brought
huh?
a little bit of joy into your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and since she gave us the segue, wait, no, that's later. We're going to talk about the COVID stuff later. I was just going to say that we're seeing the kind of the clash of reality with the mutated version of reality, where they want it's not going to work. We're seeing it in the airlines. Staff shortages are causing flight delays across the planet, and I think 1,000 Southwest Airlines 1,000 United Airlines. I don't know. Somebody just canceled like 1,000 flights the other day. It's still happening because of staff shortages, and this is what happens when you try to fight reality. You'll find that it's not going to be the most smooth experience. Reality will fight back, and this is a case of that happening, where they have to admit we don't have enough doctors. We have to allow these people to work, otherwise we're not going to have hospitals. All right. We got anything going on in Odyssey chat? Is there anybody over there? I haven't taken a look yet.
Nope, there's nobody over here except me. So
Guys, okay. Well, we are streaming in Odyssey. If you guys want to check that one out, if you like that interface better. Trickster is a trickster. Calling people names related to their sexual orientation is stupid. I could care less. Say nothing. Yeah, it is stupid.
Yep.
Just even entering that realm of ideas where sexuality is something noteworthy of being discussed at all, you're kind of falling into their frame by doing that. And frame is something that a lot of people in modern culture don't really have a good concept of. They don't have strong frame. They fall into the left's frame all the time in terms of how they argue ideas. They fall into the left's frame in terms of how they argue politics. It's something that people need to keep in mind. And there's certain discussions that I just won't even have. I won't even entertain the idea. If somebody mentions something to me, like think about, like you're really hot on abortion, for example, right? Let's say you're in a bar and somebody right next to you says the most reprehensible abortion opinion that you've ever heard in your life. What do? If you have a strong frame, you don't even react. You hear that and you're like, oh, this guy's not even worth my one single breath of my existence. That is the kind of the stance you need to start taking towards everyone else on the left, because continuing to fall into the frame of the left is exactly what they want you to do. It's like a sand tar pit, Okay.
Yeah, I've learned over the last year doing this with you, Jeremy. That's kind of what I've started to implement when I interact with people in real life. If they say something that it just normally grinds my gears, I just let it go and just keep moving on. It's like it's not even worth the argument anymore.
SNB in the YouTube chat says, I feel like we are in a zombie world. My parents just watch the news and nod their heads when CNN is on. I ask questions and they get angry. I don't understand how I came out like I did. Well, some miracle of nature or nurture, but you made it. And see, that's another good example. Is even with your family, there's only so much you can really do. You can kind of plant seeds, but don't engage. Don't waste your mental energy on these types of people. I'm encouraging, and I'm trying to encourage people to kind of split off from society. And that does include kind of getting rid of your friends, getting rid of particular family members. In some cases, not all cases. I'm not saying get rid of all your friends. They don't agree with you 100%. I'm just saying, if you have a situation like that where you're living in zombie world, your parents are just watching CNN, nodding their heads, there's really not much you can do. You got to learn when to cut your losses. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
and,
tell me about it.
Oh, yeah, Holly says the skill of debate has fallen to schoolyard name calling. I saw a great infographic or something like that on Twitter the other day. It said some black lady was like, debating is the most white supremacist idea ever. And I'm like, actually, well, yeah, pretty much is. I mean, white people, Europeans are the people who had invented the idea of a rational debate to kind of hash out ideas in politics. She's pretty much right, but they're just straight up denying, you know, they don't even want to participate in something like that anymore. And I say, let them go. Just let them go. Let them go.
Yeah.
Speaking of letting go, the left needs to let go of the Virginia election because they're melting down over it hardcore right now. And I don't know if you guys have seen stuff that like Joy Reid and all the other mutants on MSNBC and CNN are saying. They're blaming everything and everyone. And one of the people that they are blaming is women. Here's some statistics from the exit polls from Virginia last night that I want to share. We'll have a little bit of discussion, see if you can't figure out what's going on here, because there's a pretty distinct line in the demographics that I wanted to bring up. So Virginia 2020, white women voted basically 50-50 for Biden and Trump. In 2021, they went 57% Youngkin, 43% McAuliffe. So a 15-point swing to the GOP with that, but this is where it gets interesting. White women college grads, okay, in the election just happened yesterday. 62% of college graduated women voted for the Democrat, 38% for the Republican. And non-college white women, 75% for Youngkin, the Republican, only 25% from McAuliffe. So we're talking about 62% of women who go to college voting for Democrats and 75% of women who don't go to college voting for the Republicans. Now, I just wanted to pose this question as kind of a thought experiment for you guys. I want to hear your opinions. What is going on here? I have a couple theories, and I think we all know exactly what's going on, but it may not be as simple as you think, because I know everyone's going to jump into this. Oh, everyone that goes to college, they get indoctrinated with leftism. Yep, no, I agree with you. I think that's probably one of the top factors here, the top variables in the pie chart. But is there a propensity for particular types of women to go to college anyway? And the bigger question that I'm getting to is, are we starting to see the death of college and the separation of college from where it used to be when I was a kid and you were younger, our age, when we were 18, 19, whatever? It was you either go to college or you're going to die on the side of the street in destitution, right?
Yep.
That's kind of the message. Now, college, number one, doesn't seem very necessary. Number two, doesn't seem very valuable. Number three, it puts you in a lot of debt. Is it still true to say that the smart women, the smart people, are the ones who are going to college? I don't know. I don't think it is. And I think we're going to start to see that play out now.
Yeah, I don't think most of the really smart people that I know in my real life, they never went to college. Most of them either went to trade school or they've just been working hard their entire life. College is not a factor into whether you're smart or not. Some of the dumbest people I know who have no common sense, no street smarts whatsoever, have gone to college, and they can't formulate a single thought of their own without being told what to think.
Yeah, I think that's a good aspect of it too. The women who go to college, we all know that college does not teach you how to think. It does not teach you how to be a functional adult in society. It programs you in a particular way. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I'm saying it does program you in one particular way. And then 62% of those women that come out of that programming end up voting Democrat. There's something going on there. College is the indoctrination institution, says Holly. Yeah, I think that's true. Holly also had a comment get erased. Careful now. I didn't erase it. It may be one of the mods erased it. It definitely wasn't me, though.
Yeah, Paul and Mike both say they didn't erase it.
YouTube's watching. Careful now. All right, we got Courtney in chat.
You got wajickied.
Yeah, we got wajickied. Sorry, nothing I can do about that. Let's go to Courtney in stereo, see what she's got to say.
I spent so much time with friends, family, trying to just give them a bit of like, hey, maybe we should look at this in a different way. But the energy now, and it was like I was hardcore trying to get them to open their eyes for 2-3 years. Now I'm just like sitting back, like, nope, it's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can't waste any more energy on it. It's just, let's go.
And I'm here to encourage everyone to adopt that mindset with the entire modern political cultural sphere. So, it starts out with your close relationships. You see particular people, they just become intolerable to deal with. They're not logical, rational beings anymore. They barely resemble humans in their ability to think for themselves, act independently. And you can say the same exact thing for the larger society at large. We have a society that doesn't operate in our best interests, a political system that either is not validatable, not verifiable, that it controls a lot of outcomes in our larger scope of things, but it's not ever in really our interests. So I'm saying back off, stop wasting time and energy on that, focus on yourself, and build a community around the ideals that you have. Don't fall into the frame of the society that you are already in. It's tough, but that's what I'm here to preach.
Yeah, I mean, of course, don't be mean to people that disagree with you. You just simply just disagree, move on with your life, and just
Yes.
have a good time regardless.
That's right, and that's what frame is all about. It should be a question of your best interests first, not whereas on the left, their kind of mindset is, I need everybody else to comply in order to meet my best interests. It's not really. We're not out there to kind of force other people to act in compliance with our beliefs. Courtney's got another follow up here. Let's go. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say we did get a new person on Odyssey named Hang Together or Hang Separately. He says college is trash.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's a great
Oh
comment.
yeah, you could not pay me to go to college. I'm so like I never went to college when I was of the age. But I remember somebody recently was like, "Well, why don't you go back to school?" I'm like, "Are you joking with me right now? Why would I do that to myself?"
Yeah. Here's a response kind of along those same lines to this post directly on Twitter. Because the college thing is always cited to explain why, oh, look at all the college women, they voted left. Guys, if you're not following Kurt Doolittle, I would highly recommend it. He's a smaller philosophical thinker, but he is incredibly intelligent. This is a response that he left here on this. Why this data is always pseudoscience. Number one, most female degrees are non-STEM, low wage in education, psychology, sociology, or even worse. Number two, education is not a proxy for IQ in females. Okay. Number three, the only useful data is sorted by population density, income, marital status, children, and age. College attendance has absolutely no bearing or value or correlational, relational ability to see outcomes. And because, they like to say, "Oh, college women, they're educated. They don't fall for the propaganda. They don't fall for the misinformation." That's what a lot of the leftists in this thread are saying. Like, "Oh yeah, well of course women who went to college aren't voting for the Republican. They're immune to misinformation." What class in sociology or gender studies teaches you to detect misinformation or teaches you to become a critical thinker? There is no such curriculum in these courses that these women are taking. They act as if these women are taking, logic, rationality, critical thinking, statistics. They know nothing about statistics when they get out of college. They know less than they did before they went in as far as critical thinking. So it's a whole, and the argument in and of itself that white women college grads all voting one particular way means something, it doesn't even exist. It's not a real thing. And yet we continue to see that used as a statistic. So I think the question remains open. I don't know if there's something that causes particular women to go into college and then, obviously they get brainwashed while they're in college. But what I'm trying to get at is I think we're starting to see people reject college. And I don't know, hopefully in the future that trend continues. And the people who need to be indoctrinated, who aren't capable of thinking for themselves, they will go into college because that is what is most comfortable for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you, Courtney. A few weeks ago, a friend of mine was asking me like, "Oh, did you go to college?" And I said, "I went to community college for like a couple semesters, but I didn't like it." And that friend was very like perturbed by it, and she told me that I should go back to college, and I told her absolutely not. Unless I'm going back to college to learn a skill, then I will go back to college. But until then, I'm not going to college to take gender studies or any of that crap. Like, no, thank you.
We got a Scott Adams fan up in here. Lost Cause says create good systems and live within them. Yes, systems are better than goals, and that's absolutely true. Well, censor. Shats and Giggles are running Shats and Giggles. There's the meme going around right now that Biden and Harris are Shats and Giggles.
Hell yeah.
One day they grow up, they have kids to think back, they have no clue as to why things are so messed up. Well, these people are not very high in terms of consciousness. The consciousness is low for these people. They're not really present. They don't live intentionally. And that's a big thing that I'll be talking about a lot and in the future and quite often is living intentionally. That's one of the core philosophical pillars of alt-centrism. And, it's very clear that most people in society are not living intentionally. My favorite class in college was spotting the dog whistle 101. Yeah. It's so fascinating how everyone who comes out of college thinks, acts, and speaks in the exact same way. They have the exact same vocabulary. They have no deviations in their thoughts. They have no deviations in their arguments. They have no deviations in their counterpoints. Nothing. It's all exactly line by line the same, as if they're given a playbook, like they have a role in a movie or a film. He said, here's your line. If somebody says this, you just say this. They're not taught to think at all. So please don't tell me that there's any relationship between intelligence and voting for a particular group with statistics like these. Okay, let's go to, we got a comment from Osis and Stereo, and we'll jump to the next story.
I disagree with that. I enjoy being mean to them. The best part is just pure mockery and laughing at them in their faces, because there's nothing they can do or say. The absurdity of what comes out of their mouth, and deep down some of them have to know what they're saying. They know they're saying nonsense, but they're programmed to do it, and they have no other reaction, and laughing at them just makes them so angry. Relentless mockery. That's all these people deserve. I don't care who they are.
I agree, but let me put a caveat in there. Don't go out of your way to mock them. If somebody's right next to you and they're mock-worthy, mock them hard. Mock them relentlessly. But, I mean, like, don't spend any extra energy trying to go out of your way to mock people, or it's just not a efficient use of your time and energy, you know what I mean? Or don't be like a Twitter account that just goes after people like that just makes fun or seeks out the transgenders or the gender queers or all those people that are making, TikToks about new genders every 2 seconds, like, I'm a vapogender, this is what it means. Actively seeking that kind of stuff out to mock it is much different than mocking it passively as it encounters you organically. That's what I'm saying. And I am fully on board with mocking it organically as it comes to me, but I'm spending zero time and energy actively going out there to do anything about it. And
same.
That's a strong distinction that needs to be made. Okay, let's go to, this is fascinating. I'm not in hip-hop. I know you're kind of into hip-hop a little bit, Delaney, so you probably know a little bit more about this. I know you're into, are you into Bryson Gray?
Oh, yeah, I love the guy. I've gone on Instagram Live with him before. He's actually a really cool dude.
So as far as I know, Bryson Gray is a rapper, a black guy who does not use like swear words or dirty language in his raps. And right now not right now, but when this was posted a few days ago, there was 5 songs on the top charts for hip hop and rap on iTunes. They were all titled "Let's Go Brandon" by 4 different artists, and this has got to tell you something about the culture. I mean, this is clearly the most popular president of all time, right? I mean, I can remember when Trump had 5 top chart-topping songs that were negative about him. Oh wait, no, I can't, because that never happened. But for this is a rare case, I think, of the right kind of randomly, organically, naturally creating a cultural artifact that is actually resonating with society with this "Let's Go Brandon" thing. And you can see that in the fact that there are now at least 5 songs towards the top of the charts on the iTunes hip hop list.
Yeah, I mean, I've listened to Bryson's "Let's Go Brandon," and I have Topher's "Let's Go Brandon" on my playlist. I just haven't gotten around to listening to it, but I love both Bryson and Topher and the Marine rapper. They're all really, really good rap artists. I like Bryson in particular because, like you said, Jeremy, he doesn't swear, he doesn't disrespect women, he's not, talking about gang violence. He's actually speaking up against it and saying this is what's wrong with the culture right now, is all the negative music that is being fed to the kids and normalizing gang violence and normalizing being promiscuous. And that's why I like him, is because he's one of the few that's actually standing up and saying something against it.
So, of course, what are you going to expect to see if there's an effective cultural artifact propagating through society on the right? We're going to see what? We're going to see censorship. We're going to see,
of course. We're going to see them taken down.
Yeah. So Bryson.
Here, He already got banned on you. His "Let's Go Brandon" song already got banned on YouTube.
Banned on YouTube. He was banned off of Twitter too, I believe. And
Yeah.
think about that. We're banning a clean rapper for a song that just makes fun of the president. Meanwhile, you have endless amounts of rappers out there rapping about, stuff that's a lot less family friendly, stuff that we can't really talk about even right here on the stream. Killing people, doing drugs, all kind of sexuality that's not conducive to, good societies, good cultures, good communities. And they just they love letting that, amplify it, give it multiple, slots on the top YouTube channel. The point is, anytime something effective comes out, it's always going to get censored. And we're continuing to see that trend here with this. It's not surprising. But what is surprising is that the right is actually making a little bit of culture right now. It's kind of surprising. Although, I got to say, in comparison to the left, who is just a desolate black hole wasteland of creativity and, actual genuine, interesting creative output, they aren't doing anything at all. They're not creating anything. It's just like an actual endless desert of creativity over there. So, normally something like this wouldn't be that noteworthy, but in this particular situation, in this culture, climate of today, it is. So good job,
And
Republicans.
what's great about all these artists that are making these songs and creating this content is they're all independent. All of them don't have
That's another
big
good
record
point.
labels to back them and to distribute for them. It's independently being created, independently being distributed, without major labels backing them. I think that that's a huge win to be on the iTunes charts like that, top charts. And there's no Universal Media behind them. There's no Sony behind them. There's no big record label there to make sure that their music gets heard.
Yeah, and iTunes is the king of the crop. That's the top of the hill as far as where you want to be when you're releasing music, right? I never use it. I hate Apple. I refuse to use it. But for everybody else, for all the normies who wants to get music, that's where you would go. So it is a massive accomplishment to be at the top of a chart on iTunes. So congratulations, good job. Let's go, Brandon, all that good stuff. Let's continue to keep that chant going. It really does piss off the left, and it's funny to watch.
Oh, it does. It's hilarious.
Presidentially sniffing children. The YouTube chat says people with drive are going to succeed, whether it's through higher education, a trade, or some other alternative. People just need to stop treating college like it's K-16. Yeah, it's not. College attendance has little to do with actual life outcome anymore, I would say. Let's see. The left are hoping it'll burn itself out while more and more create music to support it. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think it's. This is going to be around for a while. DeSantis just came out and said that this is the Brandon presidency, right? Didn't he say that? He said something like that. This is
Something.
He's pulling a little Trump right there. He's trying to create a little something himself. All right, let's go to Paul in stereo.
Jeremy, when you talk about the fact that all these college, they don't all graduate, some just attend and wash out, but they all have standard non-deviated opinions. You're describing the cathedral, which is why everyone needs to look up Curtis Yarvin.
Yep.
And just a mold bug. The thing is, though, that's like center mass society if you just grew up with the cultural influences, which we all did, generally, millennials and those a little bit older and a little bit younger. And it's been this way for at least a century since Woodrow Wilson. Because you'll get right-leaning people, but they've gone to college and they got all the same social programming. It's something I realized recently that in polite conversation, other people have so many plans for your life. You should go to college. You should do this. And I just get a visceral gut reaction, like, what gives you the right? I'm not so mean that I say that, but that's what I feel.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point, actually. If you take somebody who isn't necessarily prone, take someone who had a good childhood. That's really what I'm trying to get at here is, take a non-mutant,
Oh.
put them through college. Are they going to come out the same way as the mutants who would get put through the same system? The answer is no. So, yeah, it's interesting to think about.
My internet disconnected, Jeremy. So give me a sec. I'll be right.
Yeah,
My video will be up in a minute.
I heard your Windows USB disconnect sounds.
Yeah.
But we have the technology to keep you on the stream. So we're going to go to Osis.
I'm still here, guys. Don't worry. I'll be back.
Going to go to Osis in stereo.
Oh man, disrespecting women is the only good part about rap. Jesus. Just take the fun out of everything.
Yes. Yep. That's what about 99% of rap really is. We got Delicious in stereo.
Oh, that was really creepy when he started sniffing a little girl, huh? I don't know if anybody else peeped that. I thought it was rather creepy. I
Yeah.
thought he was one of them witches from that little storybook, Hansel and Gretel, and he was a little hungry. Who in the hell sniffs a damn child? Did he need a snack or something? What the hell are we being exposed to right now, people?
Oh man. Oh, delicious. That was such a juicy comment. I love
I
that.
gotta chop that out and put that into a clip of its own. That is gold.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. That's what we're all thinking too. I mean, and he just slides right through. You notice that? Like he's sniffing kids left and right. He just gets straight in there. Nobody cares. Like, oh yeah.
He also like grabs little, like he'll grab them and pull them and start
grope
sniffing
'em.
them. It's like, ooh.
Yep.
It's like, dude, leave your hands to yourself, man. What's wrong with you?
Nasty stuff. Okay, well, while we're waiting for your video to come back, we'll just keep going on the stereos. Here we got Holly.
It's interesting how you talk about college and all that, Jeremy. I mean, I went to college. I got my degree in interior design, which is the most female freaking thing I could have done. I had not the best childhood, product of divorce, etc. But I mean, look at me. I am a mutant.
Yeah, you.
You're not a mutant, Holly. You had kids, you're married, and all that stuff. That's
Yeah.
successful. But see,
Yeah,
that's
you
the
got
thing.
married. And you're raising your kids good too. I remember last week. Was it last week or the week before? She told us about how her daughter realized that she was getting addicted to TikTok and she stopped herself.
Right.
So that's a sign that you're definitely not a mutant and you're raising non-mutant kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's go to Agent Carmichael.
Hey, what's up, guys? I just got in here. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but something kind of funny. Earlier today, there was some people from South Africa that was doing a show, and I think they were like joking around, and they mentioned apartheid, and so I left a message. I said, I'm actually for apartheid. I think it's great, but only for the people who leave the shopping carts out of the designated shopping cart areas in the parking lot. They just leave it in the parking space. Yeah, let's strip those people of their rights. They need to be on a watch list. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of funny.
I agree with that 100%. I always return my carts, even though that sometimes it's a long walk. And every time I do it, I'm thinking to myself, you know what? It takes a special kind of person to do this. This is really the line in society right here. If somebody doesn't do this, when people don't return the carts, that really is a sign. It truly is. All right.
I always return the carts to the cart barn. Always.
Let's go to the next story here. This one's great. Ibram Kendi. You guys know who Ibram Kendi is, right? If you don't know who Ibram Kendi is, he wrote like Anti-Racist Baby and How to Be an Anti-Racist, and he's kind of like the king of the anti-racist stuff. He gets paid to run around and talk to people and say, well, you're racist. And that's about it, really. That's all he really says. That's kind of the summation of his content. And there's no escape. There's no way to get out of his racism. But the problem with Ibram Kendi is he's got dumpster IQ. He's got subterranean, underground, center of earth, low IQ. So what he likes to find stories that make white people look bad online, and then he shares them. And he thinks he's dunking on the white people. But in reality, sometimes he dunks on himself because he just can't help himself. And this is a case of that happening right here. We've got Ibram Kendi on Twitter. In a now deleted tweet that got a lot of attention over the last couple of days, he says, he's citing an article from thehill.com. He says, more than a third of white students lied about their race on college applications, and about half of these applicants lied about being Native American. More than 3/4 of these students who lied about their race were accepted. And then he cites this article from The Hill. So, okay, real quick, point out the problem with what Ibram Kendi is trying to do. Remember, he's trying to make white people look bad. So, these white people are lying about their race on college admissions. They're saying that they're all Native American. They're so racist. What is the problem? Why did Ibram Kendi delete his tweet after making a fool out of himself? Does anybody see it? Do you see it? It's not that hard to see, unless you have dumpster IQ like Ibram does. But as I'm pulling up the article here, let me take a look in chat and see if anybody is getting it. Genuine question. I want to know if you guys are seeing it. Let's see here. I have one. Okay, I don't think chat is actually caught up. Maybe the video's a little delayed. Okay, the point is, why would a white person lie about their race if they have so much privilege for being white? That's the question. Ibram didn't consider this. Yeah, Osis got it in chat there. But okay, guys, this isn't an insignificant number either. More than a third of white students lied about their race on college. That's over 30% lied about their race, and half of those 30% said they were Native American. So look at the examples we've been given in culture. We see, Pocahontas, Elizabeth Warren. She did the exact same thing. Look at where she got.
Yep.
She's a roaring success as far as most people's criteria for life are concerned. She was, ran for president. It takes a lot to get to that point. And it starts out by lying about your race on college admissions. The point is that these colleges are not hiring white people. The white people they're aware now of systems that are discriminating against them. So they're opting to claim to be a minority because that's where the advantages are in society. This goes against Ibram Kendi's whole spiel, whatever you want to call it. His whole shtick is that white people are superior. They have privilege. They outperform. They have preference everywhere they go. White people have preference. But of course, he quickly deleted this tweet after realizing when everyone on the right was calling him out, like, "Hey, dude, that's not really saying what you think it is." If over 30% of white kids are lying about their race in college admissions, and in reality, they're just reacting to the system that they live in. They're just adapting. They're recognizing that there's incentives for being Native American. What are they going to do? DNA test them? No. So you can just claim to be Native American and slide right in, just like Elizabeth Warren did.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's with college admission, they're not going to ask for your tribal card or ask you to show what a reservation you grew up on. It's just, what are you? What's your ethnicity? What's your race? White, black, Native, Islander, all that good stuff. They're not going to actually ask for a headshot and prove to me that you're Native American. I want to see you in your full Native American garb when we interview you. Because that would be racist, wouldn't it? So you're right. The white kids are learning that in order to get ahead and actually get into college and compete with the Native Americans and all the other minorities, they have to claim to be Native American. And some of these white kids might just have Native American in them. They just don't know it.
Well, the survey, I don't know how they found out. Maybe we can take a glance through the Hill article. But they said a survey found that 34% of white students who applied to colleges falsely claimed they were a racial minority on their application. So they knew they weren't minority, but they claimed that they were. And 81%, they got an actual intent behind the lies here. It says right here, the publication found that 81% of students who faked minority status did so to improve their chances of getting accepted.
Oh, yeah.
Ibram didn't read the article. Okay, Ibram, you got to at least go 2 paragraphs into the article so you can see that 81% of them faked it so they could get better chances of getting accepted. And, it's really... Again, this is a case of where reality is clashing with the leftist view, where they try to set up these systems of incentives. Like Holly says in chat, maybe this anti-whiteism is systemic. Well, that is kind of the point. The anti-whiteism is now systemic, and that's the kind of the false reality that the leftists have created, that this racism exists, and now we're taking these actions to correct for that. And in doing so, and taking these actions, we're creating an incentive for minorities to have preference. And of course, white people are now going to take advantage of that. So this is what you get when you let mutants run your society. You get backwards, stupid, retarded stuff that just happens where people are lying about their race so they can just get into college. What does race have to do with getting into college? Zero. It should have zero. It should have absolutely nothing. It shouldn't even be a question.
that should be the last thing, or that, like you said, that should be the last thing they think about, or it shouldn't be even on. It shouldn't even be a question. It should be about your high school grades, your SAT scores, your attendance, what's your motivation? What do you want to learn from college? The very last thing that they should even consider is race. But unfortunately, not a lot of minority people don't think that they should be going to college because they don't have the grades, they don't have the drive, whatever it may be. So in order to get a leg up, they have to use the race card, and it's stupid.
13% of falsely marked. 13% of them falsely marked that they were Latino, while 10%, the brave 10%, 10% of the white people falsely claimed that they were black. Oh man, that takes some balls right there to say, like, if you know, like me, I joke that I identify as black, and I do sometimes truly identify as black. But to check a box on a college application and then walk in to an admissions office and say, "Here's my paper, or my ID, or whatever it is you need me to sign up for," and they look down at the paper, they see black, and then they look up and they see me, they see this, they're like,
Oh.
How far can we stretch this identifying as black thing? Let's test the limits. Let's see how far we can really go with that.
Well, I actually went to high school with a chick that was pale white like you, Jeremy, but her mom was like all black, but her dad was all white, and she came out with pale skin, blue eyes, big lips, blonde curly hair. I mean, poor thing. I mean, I can't even imagine. She tells people that she's black, and they're just like, "No way, you're lying. That's a lie. You're freaking lying."
All right, let's go to stereo. I heard a couple chats come in there. We got Courtney.
Okay, so about Ibram Kendi, there was something quite funny that happened 2 years ago. They wanted to change the name of a local-ish high school called Stonewall Jackson High School, and they were having like a huge vote. It's like basically if you were I forget what they actually ended up with, but Ibram Kendi was like one of the options.
Oh man!
Oh my god! Can you imagine Ibram Kendi High School? Oh Lord!
That's not even his real name, isn't it? Isn't his real name something
no.
really basic?
Yeah, it's like Johnny or something. Jackson.
Yeah. So yeah, I would if my school tried to rename it Ibram Kendi High School, I would tell my parents to send me to a different school.
There was some leak that came out about some college application that he did, and it turns out that he actually is stupid. He's really dumb. He had like a really low SAT score or something like that. So when I say he's got dumpster IQ, I'm not kidding. And now we're trying to name schools after people who are really stupid. Backwards. This is Clown World. This is why we're in Clown World. This is what you're here for. This is the Clown World News. Okay, let's go to Agent Carmichael.
I heard some people mention college and school, and I guess we're still talking about school, so I'll throw in my 2 cents.
Hell yeah.
I'm a college student, unfortunately. No, I think I'm a junior. I don't know. I'll see. I'm a junior doing mechanical engineering, which is, you kind of needed a degree to do that. But, you know, kind of interesting. The more and more I do school and the and more I have internships and see what the job is actually consisting of, I'll be honest with you, I think I just may like end up in the trades or something. I still probably will finish my degree just so I have something to fall back on, just like as a safety net. Like I can always get like a low-level engineering position if I'm too exhausted to do manual labor. But like I've done these internships and they're interesting, they're cool, but they're just not really fulfilling. Like when I've done stuff with my hands, like construction stuff like that when I do that and I come home from a long day's work, that it just strikes you different, you know? So yeah. I don't know where life is going to take me, and that's my take.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's important to keep your mind and your options open. You know, don't get pigeonholed and stuck into something that you don't actually enjoy doing.
There I go again.
Delaney's gone again. Let's get juicy. Let's get into the juicy stuff right here. This is what you guys have been waiting for. We got leaked. Okay, they're not leaked because there was a FOIA request, but we got CDC emails. How many other outlets that you know actually covered live, like within a day of happening, the CDC changing the definition of vaccine, changing the definition of immunity, changing all the definitions of these words on their website. We were one of them. I don't know if you guys are watching or not, but we covered that. And that was quite a few weeks ago. But now we've got actual information regarding why they did it, and it's not too far off from exactly what we thought it was. Let's jump over to technofog.substack.com for the next story here. CDC emails our definition of vaccine is, quote, problematic. Yeah. Problematic vaccine?
God.
No. Vaccine is not problematic at all. The definition of vaccine, yeah, that's problematic. Okay. So,
Oh, goodness.
the CDC caused an uproar in early September after it changed the definitions of vaccination and vaccine. For years, the CDC had definitions for vaccination and vaccine that discussed immunity. This all changed on September 1st, 2021. So here's the definition prior to them changing it. Vaccine is a product that stimulates a person's immune system to produce immunity to a specific disease, protecting that person from that disease. Vaccines are usually administered through needle injections, but can also be administered by mouth or sprayed into the nose. Vaccination is the act of introducing a vaccine into the body to produce immunity to a specific disease. Okay, so that seems pretty standard. That fits the definition that we've all come to know and love for vaccines.
Yeah, that's what I was taught in health class when I was in 8th grade.
Yep, yeah. So, but that was problematic. So they changed it to, and this is just catching up. We already kind of covered all this, but some people might not be aware. So we're just catching you up on what they changed it to. They changed it to vaccine is a preparation that is used to stimulate the body's immune response against diseases. Vaccines are usually administered through needle injections, but can be administered sprayed to the nose, etc., etc. So they changed it from stimulate the body's immune response against diseases. That's what they changed it to, from stimulating a person's immune system to produce immunity to a specific disease, protecting the person from that disease. So we don't really have protecting that person from the disease anymore, the way that you have polio vaccine. You can walk into a room full of polio people and you'd be fine. They knew that was being a little bit problematic. So here's some of the emails here. In one August 2021 email, a CDC employee cited complaints that right-wing COVID deniers are using our vaccine definition to argue that mRNA vaccines are not vaccines. So I love how they label it right-wing COVID-19 pandemic deniers. Mm-hmm. Interesting that the CDC is getting all political like that. As an objective person can't just look at the definition and see that it's not the same as what it used to be, or it doesn't really match up with what you're actually giving me in the vaccine. Okay, so that's fine. So now, after taking some suggestions, the CDC's lead health communications specialist went up the food chain to propose changes to the definitions. Quote, I need to update this page. Immunization basics. CDC, since these definitions are outdated and being used by some to say COVID-19 vaccines are not vaccines per the CDC's own definition. The definitions are outdated. That's what they said. So, could you take a look at the attached Word doc and let me know if it looks okay? The mRNA language is pulled from the COVID-19 website. So they've been having to deal with like damage control at the CDC in terms of the definitions and the public information they have on their site to try and cover for the fact that these quote-unquote vaccines aren't actually vaccines. And it's interesting to see the behind-the-scenes kind of scrambling to get this fixed. So there was no response. Then a follow-up email a week later said the definition of vaccine we have posted is problematic, and people are using it to claim that COVID-19 is not a vaccine. A vaccine is not a vaccine based on our own definition. So they knew. It's exactly what we all thought, and we all said the whole entire time is they're going in there. They know that this is not matching up with reality. Again, the third time this idea has come up in the stream. The leftist, the mutants' version of reality is not matching up with reality. So they have to twist reality to meet their broken definition, their broken worlds. So, yep, they changed it, and you can see right here exactly the specific change from immunity to a specific disease to producing protection from a specific disease. So, there you have it. The CDC is fully aware of what's actually going on. It shouldn't be too much of a shock to you guys, but keep in mind that Pfizer's posting record profits this year, and it's acts like this that help encourage those companies to make that much money. So, and of course, we all know you're not actually paying for those vaccines out of pocket. They're using your tax dollars to pay for that. So the CDC, working in conjunction with the pharmaceutical companies, to change definitions, put out propaganda to get you to accept these quote-unquote vaccines. I don't know. Does that seem shady at all to you?
Oh, it's so shady. I mean, we covered this all that time ago, and I thought it was shady even back then, and it's still shady even now. I'm back. Hopefully
Dari
my internet doesn't take a
says,
dump again.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on out there. That Sacramento internet's pretty awful.
No, I think there's something wrong with my my wireless card. I need to buy a new one. So.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah, to get on that. Come on now.
I've had it for years and years and years, so I think it's just starting to fail me.
Tony Scallops in the YouTube chat says definition changing is really effective, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. This is part of what we call the language war. The language war has been an ongoing thing. We've seen definitions of words changed overnight in cases like the Kavanaugh hearings, and this is what they have to do to make their reality come into fruition, because reality does not match what's in their mutated brains. Let's go to Stereo real quick, see what's going on over there. We got Courtney.
I just read an article where it says the CDC director, Rochelle, whatever her name is, says that children who have already, I guess, gotten this COVID should still absolutely still get the vaccine. Like, they're gonna go to the limits with this one.
Oh yeah, and that could be the breaking point for the people on the right, because the kids don't come for the kids, right? Or at least I hope they're gonna have a breaking point somewhere. It doesn't seem like they do, but I don't know. We got Agent Carmichael.
What I think is stupid, I mean, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, I think they should have just left the definition as it was and acknowledge that anyone saying the mRNA vaccine is not a vaccine, they're just an idiot. I mean, by changing this, they're just adding suspicion to everything. Like, literally, we're not going to, if people start claiming that the sky is green, are we going to change the definition to reflect what people think? No. I mean, keep it the truth, and if there are some weirdos out there that think the mRNA vaccine isn't real, right, then those are the doofuses of society. I don't know why we have to accommodate to these people. Just leave the definition the way it is, so you don't have to make people suspicious. Like, hey, you're reacting to them, so they must be saying something, right? It's like, don't feed into these people.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of the argument that I made earlier in the stream, coming back full circle on the other side, where the CDC is falling into the frame of the right and admitting the definition doesn't really fit, whereas they could have just ignored it and left it up there. They draw attention and scrutiny when they do things like this because they're digging themselves in a hole. We realize what they're doing, and it does not garner trust. That's the least I could say.
Yeah, when you go in and change definitions just willy-nilly, it does not make me trust that this thing, this whatever you're trying to promote, is anything good.
Tony Scallops in the YouTube chat says, California, they will keep aging. The Pfizer is available for kids 5 to 10. Will soon be mandatory. My wife wants to comply. I do not. So there you go. That's the feminine versus the masculine right there. Of course, the feminine is going to be inclined to go for safety. Let's go to Holly in Stereo.
I remember back in my day, the left was very anti-big pharma. What happened to that?
Yep. No, that's the thing. They, with a useful idiot, as some people like to call them, I don't really refer to them as such. They're really just unconscious mutants. They're easily manipulatable. You can get them to do whatever you want if you just tell them the right thing on CNN, MSNBC, Twitter, social media. And that's what we're seeing here. In a very short period of time, I previously called this out as pure genius. They've gotten these anti-corporate people to literally cheerlead for Big Pharma, tattoo logos on their bodies, and advocate, just become living advertisements for their products. I think it's fascinating.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
The left used to be F you, I won't do what you tell me. Now it's F you, do what we tell you.
We've got good news out of Canada, as Holly alluded to earlier. Quebec and Ontario are clashing with reality in that they don't have enough healthcare workers for the hospitals, so they've rescinded their vaccine mandates for their healthcare workers. Now, there was some news about a lawsuit that Holly told us. I don't know any details on the lawsuit, but from what I can tell, they're just admitting that they will not have enough healthcare workers to actually have hospitals or healthcare system. So they are saying, okay, we're not going to make you get the vaccine, but we're going to make you do testing 3 times an hour or whatever it is. Some ridiculous amount of testing. So, good news there. Who knows if it's going to hold, because we've seen flip-flops in the COVID policies back and forth up in Canada there multiple times. Hopefully it will hold long enough that you guys can get some ground on that issue.
Yeah, that would be nice, because I remember when I was down to visit you, you were saying you wanted to go into Canada, so maybe this will shed some light and
I'd love to
allow
travel to Canada, but they got it all locked up.
Allow us to go up to Canada and see Holly.
That's right, Agent Carmichael.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit I am pro-vaccine, but I also am like, do whatever you want. You don't want to take it, that's fine. I'm not going to force you. But I also can admit the hypocrisy of like the Democrats were so against the vaccine when Trump did the Operation Warp Drive.
Oh yeah,
like, he was kind of single-handedly responsible for getting it out there.
Yep.
And they were like, oh, we're not taking it if Trump's making it. And he said, no, I don't want to do it. That's crazy. He's going to kill us all. They were so against it until Biden got in. Now they're all like, oh, if you don't do it, you're crazy. It's like, what happened when, they were so against it. Like, they were like saying, I will never take this vaccine. And then all of a sudden, no, it's fine, whatever. But, and yes, that is a bathroom fan you hear, because I'm sure not going to miss this show, even though, just because I'm going to take a shit. So, you're welcome.
Yeah, there was a... Joy Reid was tweeting when Trump was still running the show, saying, "I'm never going to take a vaccine from Trump's FDA. Who knows what kind of things he's forcing them to do?" It's like, oh man, it really just depends. These people are so fickle; their minds are so weak. It really just depends on who's the one presenting it to them, who's offering the piece of candy. That determines if it's something they're going to follow along with or not. It's really sad, quite pathetic to see. At least, whether you're one way or the other, just have some principles. Jesus. I don't care if you agree or disagree or want to take it, don't want to take it. Just have some principles. Have something that resembles independent thought. Let's go to Paul in stereo here, and we'll jump to the next story.
I know it's push Sisyphean task, pushing a rock uphill forever. To try to convince these people, because your average neolib, Marxist, leftist, but I repeat myself, they truly believe these therapies, I won't call them a vaccine, prevent the expression of disease, or I should say the spread of it.
Right.
It's like an NIH study came out recently saying, in fact, those who are quote-unquote vaccinated don't spread it. It's ironic. If you could just break through that one mental programming hiccup point, you would understand the reality that you don't want your healthcare workers vaccinated, especially if they don't need it, because then when they do get COVID, because it is highly infectious and spreads very easily, you'll know they're sick right away. All these vaccinated people are just goddamn typhoid Mary time bombs. They make it so much worse.
Hell yeah.
That's a good point. Let's see here. We got, speaking of, we got some very interesting data that I stumbled across from Italy and Germany. And it really just adds to the pile. This is, again, Sisyphean task, trying to convince people that this whole thing is just a scam anyway. When I say scam, I'm not talking about the fact that COVID's not real. I'm talking about the fact that COVID is deadly to the average person, which it's not. And let's take a look at some of this data here from Italy. 2.9% of the cases there. Now, you guys remember Italy was one of the hardest hit, right? 130,000 deaths that they had on tallied up as of October 5th. And they came up with some data that I just want to glance over with you guys, just to show you what's really going on, because we talked about this in America. We've seen data from health systems in America, counties in America, that show the same exact thing. And the gig is up. The game is over. We all know this is a scam now. We're looking at 130,000 deaths in Italy, and of 130,000 of those deaths, only 2.9% had zero comorbidities. And just glancing at a chart here by age group and comorbidities, and we're talking about obesity 30%, hypertension 38%, type 2 diabetes 25%. Let's see, what do we got? 67% of the people that died had 3 comorbidities or more. That means I'm talking about like is heart disease plus dementia plus cancer plus diabetes plus obesity. This is the kind of people that is getting killed by COVID, not normal, healthy, average people. Pretty sure, if you're under the age of 59, according to this data, you have a near zero chance of dying with 0 comorbidities. So not shocking, but we're seeing these revisions kind of happen slowly over time. It's not getting much attention, but when you say 130,000 deaths originally, and now you get revised down to, what is that, like 3,500, whatever it is, whatever 2.9% of 130,000 is, let's just call it 4,000, be generous. That's a pretty significant difference. And the problem is we're not going to go backwards and revise the global death counts. We're never going to go back and say, oh, well, this one health system over here, they revised their counts, so we're going to subtract numbers from the total count that we'd love to spew all over media. 8 million people dead from COVID. And that number's never going to go backwards, despite the fact that we now know with more data that it should be going backwards. And that really illustrates kind of the major problem here that we have with society now at scale, is that it gets too convoluted. There's too many things going on, too many variables. The picture is too big for people to really realize. So you don't find out until a year and a half later that you've been lied to the whole time about the numbers, because they were using the criteria to say, oh yeah, the person that died with heart disease, cancer, obesity, dementia, and had a previous history of strokes and heart attacks, yeah, he died from COVID. No, he really didn't. He died with COVID, but he didn't die from COVID. So, it's too late. They've already ingrained that into the skulls of the people who are, the zealots for COVID. It's too late. You can never unprogram that out of them. They still think this is deadly, and they still think, like Paul said, that you can spread it to other people. You can't spread it to other people if you're vaccinated. They're never going to change their opinion.
Yeah, you can't unring the gong once it's already been hit. We talked about months ago counties in California that have had to revise their numbers because they went through and realized, 25% of the people that died in, I think it was like Alameda County, didn't actually die of COVID. They just died with it, or they had other things going on and just happened to have test positive for COVID. But we're going to count it as a COVID death anyways. So I guess it's a good thing that they're going back and revising it. But like I said, once you ring the gong, you can't unring it. And these people that are ingrained and programmed to believe COVID is the most dangerous thing on the planet are not going to see that and think, oh, it's not as dangerous as I thought. They're just gonna feed even more into it.
Yeah, Paul in the YouTube chat says, kind of like when I mentioned the 9/11 playbook, the regime has a limited repertoire of ways to create social control, and the data manipulation that you see, where you have these crazy vague definitions of what a death is from COVID, that's part of that particular playbook. Let's see. Tulpas, the constructor, says, doesn't it suck that we're still having to talk about a glorified flu bug, one that might not even be real? I mean, for frick's sake, they stopped giving flu stats because the PCR test includes flu. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. We need to exit this particular society because they're going to continue to expend energy on things that aren't even really particularly real. And I'm not using real in the literal sense. Presidentially sniffing children says even the original COVID death numbers counted any person that had COVID antibodies, no matter if COVID was the actual cause. Yeah, and we were one of the few outlets that were covering the evolving criteria, evolving trends, and how they were counting these, evolving trends, and how they were advertising and scaring people into it. Started out with the R naught number, and it evolved to case counts, and death counts, and back to case counts, and it was fascinating to watch, but nobody has the retention ability to remember those kind of things. So it's all lost. Even though it just happened less than 2 years ago, it's already all gone. There's no lessons learned. People don't have the ability to retain that information, then use it again in the future. or very few people actually do, which is quite terrifying when you think of the ramifications for society long term. Presidents have tested Coca-Cola and got the positive results. Yeah, and OSIS wants to use fentanyl as a prophylactic for COVID. Hey, I say try it out. Maybe low doses might actually work.
Yeah, maybe, or at least it might numb your symptoms and make you just sleep through the whole thing. So there's that.
All right, we've got a stereo from Holly.
I don't know if you guys remember here, there was that one case that Albert Healthcare was all over of that 14-year-old that passed away with COVID, that it turned out he was tested a few days before he passed away positive. But the poor young man, he died of brain cancer, stage 4.
Oh.
And the news ran with it that he was 14 and died, and everyone was freaking out. Well, that narrative, of course, was corrected and everyone apologized. But now Canada is approving vaccines for 5+, and they're still talking about that one 14-year-old that died in Alberta. It's, people easily don't forget. I don't know what the term would be, but yeah.
Yeah, they can't retain. They don't know that that thing was corrected, so they continue to have that, whatever the image is in their brains, that ingrained. And now this is we're seeing it happen all over the place, guys. Not just Italy. Okay, so we went to Italy, which was one of the biggest, hardest hit from COVID. We all remember how stomped out Italy got from this thing. Let's go to Germany now. What's happening in Germany? Well, this is very similar to what just happened in the UK a couple weeks back. We reported on this as well. And the lie continues to crumble right in front of our faces. It's a German site translated to English, Multipolar Magazine -DE, and it's entitled "Billing Data from Health Insurance Companies Show That Only one in two corona patient is in the hospital due to actual COVID." So this is the phenomena where a patient goes to the hospital for a broken leg or a laceration, head injury, you name it, anything that they would need to go to hospital for, and then they get tested for COVID while they're in the hospital stay. So 12 days into their hospital stay for the surgery or the broken leg or whatever it may be, they happen to test positive for COVID. I mean, shocker, they're in a hospital, so of course. And then that gets counted as a COVID hospitalization because that person is in there for a broken leg, but then they tested positive as part of their stay for a broken leg for COVID. Well, that's a COVID hospitalization. 50% of the hospitalizations in Germany. So we can just take that the number from Germany for hospitalizations, whatever it is that we've been fed for that, just cut that right in half. So from the billing data of the hospitals with the health insurance companies, which the Institute for Remuneration Systems in Hospitals provides, it can be seen that the proportion of COVID-19 cases with acute respiratory diseases of all inpatient COVID-19 cases in winter 2020 and 2021 was only slightly more than half. And the remaining so-called COVID-19 cases came to the clinic due to completely different clinical procedures, such as heart attacks, urinary tract infections, or broken legs. I mean, I find this funny. This is clown world stuff. This is hilarious to me because it's all so fake. It's all completely fake. They have to stretch the numbers wherever they can just to keep the mutants on that drip feed of fear that they need to survive day to day. That's really what you're seeing now. All right, we got anything in stereo here? What's going on in the YouTube chat?
Nothing in stereo and nothing on Odyssey.
Took a quick little trip around the world there to Italy and Germany. And like I said, we already saw this happen in the UK. So pretty much all of Europe, we know the numbers are fudged. And that's not me just guessing. We've shown articles from official sources on that. The child abuse by the school system is way out of control. It is sickening. Yeah, I agree with that. Tony says, sending my kids to school with a mask pisses me off. She got sent to the principal's office for wearing the mask as a backpack. The kid is 5. Hilarious. Yeah, that's the thing. The vaccinating kids really doesn't make any logical sense. Will Bryan says, do you need a video editor? Well, not particularly. We don't do much pre-produced videos, but maybe in the future.
Yeah,
I do all the
maybe.
video editing
Keep
myself.
watching, and we might need you.
Yeah. The news cycle is ramped up to a level to make people forget. Yep. And I guess that's the moral of the story. I don't have a lot of content for tonight. This is probably going to be a short show. But the moral of the story across all these stories that we're talking about is that it should raise a question in your mind. Do you want to live with these people? Do you think that you can have a fruitful life, a fruitful community, and this society that is dependent on fake numbers, that is dependent on, false realities, forcing definitions of words that don't actually exist, trying to shame organic, natural, cultural artifacts that come up into society? Is that really what you want to be living in? Do you want to expend your energy trying to fix that, trying to be a part of that? And generally, I would say the answer is no.
No.
But you don't ever ask yourself that question if you aren't living intentionally. And what I mean by living intentionally is questioning literally everything that you do, being conscious about everything that you are doing. So, particularly, in cases for political things like this, you need to be asking yourself, is it worth the time and energy to even participate? Is it worth the time and energy to have that conversation with that family member, that friend that is brainwashed or whatever it may be? Because you only have a limited amount of energy, you only have a limited amount of time. You got to use it wisely.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Paul in stereo, and then I think we got one more from Israel, actually.
Oh, of course, we don't want to live with them. I have to quote Michael Malice. It's the best, most polite way to dismiss someone. You understand completely. You don't want to argue. You don't want to change your mind. You just don't want to stay in the same country as them either.
Hell yeah.
That's pretty much it. I don't want to stay in the same country. Because contrary to them, where they would stay in the same country, they cry about it, and they try to turn it into this system that they want. They waste their entire lives crying about socialism, trying to bring it into fruition, when they could have just moved to communist China and live out a great and beautiful, wonderful life in communism as they have always desired. Why wouldn't you just change that? It's a mutant brain. Okay, a mutant brain is very different. We got a quick little spout of data from Israel. A little alarming. I wanted to bring you guys' attention from a study that just came out regarding increase in cardiac arrest and heart attacks in young people. Yeah, Israel is one of the most vaccinated countries on earth, as you guys know. We've talked about that quite a bit.
Yep.
And I'm not saying this is necessarily COVID vaccination related, but I am presenting the data to make you aware and potentially observe any correlations that are here. So we've seen a 25% increase in cardiac arrests and heart attacks in ages 16 to 29, and 83.6% increase in heart attacks in women aged 20 to 29. Now, I got to show you guys the hard numbers, of course, because I tell you all the time, percentages can lie. We're looking at an increase from 85 to 113, 179 to 218. These are low numbers, okay? This age group should not be having heart attacks at all to begin with. But still, I think in this particular case, the increase in heart attacks by 83% is quite significant. And we should be at least asking what's going on there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Percent increase, 140% increase in heart attacks. Okay, but that's kind of a little bit of a lie because it went from 2.5 to 6. Not particularly interesting or meaningful there. From females aged 40 to 49, 263 to 403, 52% increases. These are big numbers of increases. That's all I'm trying to say. And we should be aware and trying to figure out what's going on there. I heard a stereo come in. Let's hop over to that real quick. Paul?
This isn't a follow-up, but you might think it is. Since it might be a short show, I'll just say my path to rejecting this vaccine. I don't give credit to Trump or anyone for doing it other than the scientists who researched it, because that's the ones who deserve whatever credit they're due or blame. But it's very simple. I know I'm in a low-risk category, so when the new year turned over and the vaccines are just coming out, why in the goddamn fuck would I rush to the front of the line as a 35-year-old with no comorbidities to make sure all the boomers are removed? No, that's heartless and evil, to be honest. only these pathetic program people are the ones like, as a social status, had to get the shot so fast. It was only in the last few months, because all these people started taking it, that the downsides and the risk became evident. And so, yeah, no, I don't want that. I don't want the bug juice.
That's something that never ever came into consideration, was handing out the vaccine to people who needed it the most. I think that's also kind of a fascinating historical artifact that we're going to look back on and say, what was going on there, really? Were these people looked at the vaccine as kind of a societal status icon over the actual efficacy and merit of handing it out to people who actually needed it first? I think that's interesting. Holly, in the
Speaking
house.
of moving out of the country, one of the newest demographics in Mexico happens to be medical refugees from Canada. As of November 30th, you won't be able to travel anywhere or cross the border if you are unvaccinated. So there are tons of people that do own properties in Mexico that are Canadian citizens that are selling all of their stuff, and they are emigrating to Mexico as medical refugees. So, I mean, that would be fine. Go down to Mexico, live on a beach, just stay away from the cartel.
Stay in the nice parts of Mexico.
Yeah, make sure that you stay away from the people with machetes. That's definitely you got to look out for that.
Well, we joked about medical refugees out of America, at least, out of North America, USA, Canada, et cetera, and now it's actually happening. I guess if you classify Mexico as Central America. Not a shocker, and something that I'm absolutely considering as well, depending on how this thing turns out. But I think you're safe. America's big enough, Canada's big enough that you can kind of go remote. If you're not one of those people who can't handle remote living, then Mexico's probably a good option. But I'm okay with living remote. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, especially with your tiny house being built, you'll be fine.
Exactly. And Osis.
I haven't gotten to look into this, but on my gun forum, Holly jogged my memory. I read that, so take this with a grain of salt, I have not confirmed it, but they were talking about how Biden changed the definition of refugee to include a climate refugee. And basically gives carte blanche to anyone that wants to come here to claim refugee status, which would definitely be the end of the country as we know it. Thanks a lot, Brandon. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Well, what does that really mean, though? The end of the country? At the end of what? It's not like the land is going to be on fire. It's still going to be livable. You'll still be able to grow food. You'll still be able to have communities. You'll still be able to have houses. You'll have electricity. You'll have water if you're off grid. So what does that really mean? I think that's an important question to ask yourself, because we hear that kind of that sentiment a lot, is America is going to be gone as we know it. America will no longer exist. But you need to ask yourself what that really actually means, because I don't think it means as much as we really need it to mean. Meaning, does every single square foot of America need to be perfectly in operation for you to be happy living in the mountains somewhere? I would say no. I wouldn't care if half the eastern seaboard started on fire or got hit by a massive hurricane and just got annihilated off the face of the earth. It wouldn't affect me at all. But, well, maybe downstream supply chain issues, things like that. All I'm saying is it's possible to live without things being entirely optimal. And it's not necessary to make things entirely optimal or expend energy trying to make things entirely optimal. So that's all I had. I don't have any more content. We're out of articles. I know this is like the first time in forever that we're short on content, but I don't know. Did you have anything you want to mention, Delaney?
Well, just wanted to let people know my trip to Texas to see Jeremy was awesome. I love Texas. It's great. It's amazing. It was amazing being in a crowd of people, no masks. And then having to come back to California, having to put a mask back on was quite demoralizing, but I'll survive.
Yeah, I hope you got a good view of what the real life is like. And it kind of goes to exactly the point I was just making right now, where you've got states like California that are completely different worlds from places like Texas, where I was at, we were at a festival with thousands of people jammed shoulder to shoulder. And, we're not going to see thousands of deaths occurring from that in a few days or in a week. It's just a whole entirely different world, and we're in
It
the same
is.
country. So why do we need to save the country? Let's scale it back down, focus on the states, and once we're focused on the states, scale it back down a little bit even further. Towns, cities, etc., etc. Nick Pollock says, "Have you ever lived in Africa?" No, I've never lived in Africa.
Nope.
Is there a
No,
point?
thank you.
Is there a point there that you're trying to make? I'm curious. Motorgong says, "I heard on the radio yesterday the vax approved for kids, but the damn truth is they've extended the emergency use authorization to kids. So they didn't really actually approve it for kids. They just extended the EUA to kids." Okay. Well, like I said, man,
Sounds about right. That nice little loophole that they have for themselves when it comes to this thing.
they got to force their reality into existence because reality does not want to comply with their mutant brains. Kaepernick had the most wealthy white upbringing, but don't talk about that. We got Kaepernick. Yeah, why is Kaepernick back in the media these days? Does anybody know?
He did a thing for Netflix saying how the NFL you're basically like a slave when you work for the NFL, but he's still actively trying to get back in the NFL. So a lot of people are just kind of confused at his message. So I guess it's, so why are you trying to become a slave again if the NFL are a bunch of slave owners? It's, yeah.
Oh, standard baloney. Okay, got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Standard baloney from Colin Kaepernick.
NFL and slavery, Jesus, yeah. This definition changes should be on front page news. It is not. It's front page news for people who are paying attention. The problem is there's only, 50 people in the country that are paying attention, and we've got almost all of them right here in this chat right now. So, it's not like you're ever going to get a big audience for things that actually matter like that. Told us we did not shoot any pew-pews. No, we didn't do any shooting while we were here.
No shooting of the pew-pews. Next time I go to Texas, we'll probably shoot some pew-pews.
We didn't have that on the docket. She was coming specifically to go to a festival.
Yeah, we're going to a festival. We went and saw Dune. That was amazing. I tried some Texas barbecue, which was fantastic, by the way. And yeah, and we went to downtown Houston, which was awesome. Buildings there are quite amazing. No hobos, which that surprised me. No human excrement on the streets, which was quite a thing.
Stark contrast to California.
Oh, it's a big contrast to California. The trees are lush and green and full of life. The people are so friendly. I walk into the gas station to buy a club soda, and I'm sitting there conversating with the gas station attendant. He's so nice. He's telling me his life story. I'm telling him my life story. It was a whole different stratosphere of people in Texas. I was quite amazed.
That is an interesting point, Osis. He says in the YouTube chat, super spreaders aren't talked about anymore. Because some people still will mention super spreaders here and there, but you've got to be curious about what's going on in the brain of a leftist who thinks super spreaders are a thing. But even after 2 years, the Republicans aren't all dead. You would think that in their mind, with all these super spreaders they talk about every single week, a Trump rally, a concert, whatever it is, they're all super spreaders, that all the Republicans would already be dead. And yet they're not. So a little bit of cognitive dissonance has got to be a big problem for them on that one. But yeah, it never really was the thing to begin with. Okay, let's get up a couple stereos and then we'll get out of here. Osis.
What Kaepernick did was he took the combine where they measure your stats and you run without a shirt, a lot of them anyway, and you do bench press and see how fast you can run the 40, etc., etc. And he compared that to slave auctions.
Oh my god!
Because slaves got paid millions of dollars, and of course, there's no white people at the combine either, because as dumb as Ibram Kendi is, Kaepernick is way lower on the totem pole in terms of intelligence.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they're best friends or something. They have to be some kind of friends or something like that because they're birds of a feather flock together.
We got PC Plonker in stereo here. What's up, PC?
Yo, hope you're well. Hope you're all safe.
Oh, what's up, man?
I don't think America is going to be kicked off the perch of our global superpower, but I believe the broader discussion should be centered around how much of a two-tier society America wants to become whether it's around race, money, and health inequalities.
Got a lot of different ways to divide the people up right now.
Yep.
And they're trying to do it on all axes at the same time. I don't know if it's going to work out or not, but I don't want to be a part of it. That's all I'm saying.
Yep. Neither do I.
All right, guys. That's about all we had for you tonight. Short stream for the first time ever. It's okay. I'm still recovering a little bit from the weekend, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, me too. We
But,
were dancing and jumping and having a good old time.
No COVID here, that's for sure. But you guys know where to find us. We'll be here every 7 p.m. every Wednesday. See, there's some problems happening up here. A lot of speech problems for me today. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m. PST, PDT, right here, youtube.com/Weekly Narrative, stereo app. Follow us there at Weekly Narrative. You can find us on there and give us a follow. Of course, we are also live now on Odyssey as well, because eventually we all know I'm going to get kicked off of YouTube and we need a backup. So feel free to join the Telegram. You can share stories there of things you want me to share, talk about on the stream, or just chat with the people on the crew. We got some very avid conversationalists in there. And we'll see you guys next week. That's all I got.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody. Lot of love from California.
Oh, yeah, and watch Patriot Purge, Tucker Carlson's new documentary. I got to check that out for sure. I'm going to go watch that right now.
That's my homeboy, Tucker.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.